I stood at the entrance of the lavish dining hall, my hands folded politely near my waist, waiting for anyone to signal where I should sit. The long table shimmered under the chandelier, plates perfectly set, crystal glasses catching warm gold light. But as my eyes traveled along the row of chairs, a cold truth struck me. There wasn't a single seat reserved for me. My son, Lucas, glanced over his shoulder with irritation, as though my presence were an inconvenience. He leaned back in his chair, his voice loud enough for several tables to hear. "Mom, why are you just standing there? There's no place for you here. If you're hungry, there are plenty of cheap cafes outside." A few guests turned their heads. My heart stung, but my expression did not change. Paige, my daughter-in-law, lifted her wine glass and let out a light laugh, the kind meant to slice rather than comfort. "Lucas is just being honest. Nora, this restaurant, it's not really your type of place." Their words didn't hurt because they were cruel. They hurt because they were coming from the two people I once sacrificed everything for. I forced myself to inhale slowly. My fingers trembled, so I clasped them behind my back before anyone could see. A young server hovered nearby, unsure of how to respond to the tension. I gave him a low gesture with my hand. He leaned forward respectfully, and I whispered a quiet instruction into his ear. His eyes widened, surprise flickering across his face. But he nodded and hurried toward the kitchen. Lucas smirked at me, assuming I had asked the server to fetch a chair or worse, that I was begging for one. "Mom, don't make this embarrassing. This dinner is to celebrate my promotion. I don't need you dragging the mood down." I placed my small clutch bag gently onto the table, letting it make a sharp, deliberate tap. Then I looked directly at him, the boy I raised through hunger, sleepless nights, and impossible odds, now sitting like a stranger, dripping arrogance. "If someone is going to leave tonight," I said quietly, "it won't be me." A sudden hush rippled through the room. Even the pianists paused mid-melody. Lucas blinked, then barked a cynical laugh. "What are you even talking about? Who do you think you are?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The server reappeared at my side, placing a sealed envelope in front of me with a respectful bow. Inside that envelope was the beginning of a truth Lucas was not prepared to confront. But the reveal would wait, because first, I needed him to fully understand the moment he had created. What's inside the envelope, you wonder? The room learns a truth that freezes even Lucas mid. The envelope sat untouched between us, its presence louder than any argument. Lucas's smirk faded slightly as he eyed it. Confused by the server's strangely respectful behavior, Paige leaned in, curiosity prickling her expression. Before either could speak, a familiar voice cut through the dining room. "Is everything all right here, ma'am?" The manager of the Golden Laurel Oscar stood beside me. His gray suit was pressed to perfection, his hands clasped politely. He addressed me, not Lucas, not Paige. The entire room stirred. Oscar rarely showed himself unless something demanded his direct attention. Lucas frowned. "Why are you talking to her like that? Do you even know who she is?" Oscar's expression didn't falter. "Very well, sir. We've known Mrs. Nora for many years." Paige scoffed, a sharp sound. "Known her? She worked in some small office her whole life. Why would a place like this know her?" Oscar didn't bother replying. He offered me a respectful nod and stepped aside. But his brief visit had already sent whispers buzzing around the tables nearby. I lifted the envelope, feeling the weight of years pressed inside it, years of struggle, of learning, of growth I had never revealed to my son. The years he believed I spent living small and powerless. "Mom, seriously?" Lucas muttered, agitation creeping into his voice. "What kind of stunt are you trying to pull?" I met his stare calmly. "You invited me here to show off your success, didn't you? To remind me I don't belong in your world?" He stiffened, but said nothing. "Then let me remind you of something, Lucas." I slid the envelope toward him. Read. With reluctant fingers, he tore it open. The moment his eyes scanned the first page, color drained from his cheeks. The documents were unmistakable, formal, stamped, signed. Ownership shares, investment records, contracts. Paige snatched one page, scanning quickly. Her breath faltered. This can't be real." Before she could continue, the atmosphere shifted again. A distinguished man in his 60s entered the hall-tailored suit. Confident stride. The chairman of the Golden Laurel Group himself. Conversations stopped. Forks froze mid-air. He approached our table, but like Oscar before him, he didn't greet my son. He greeted me. "Mrs. Nora?" he said warmly. "I came as soon as I heard there was a misunderstanding." "We're honored to have you here." Lucas stared at him as if the world had flipped upside down. You know my mother?" The chairman nodded. "Of course. Without her early investment, this entire restaurant chain wouldn't exist as it does today." Gasps fluttered across the room. Lucas's jaw dropped. The humiliation he had tried to hand me had just swung back at him with a force he never imagined. But this was only the beginning. A revelation even harsher awaits, a decision that threatens Lucas's entire future. The chairman's words struck the room like a dropped glass sharp, echoing, impossible to ignore. Lucas sat frozen, one hand still gripping the ownership papers he had pretended not to read. Paige's fingers trembled as she set her wineglass down, its stem tapping nervously against the table. I straightened slowly, letting the silence stretch until Lucas was forced to face it. "You spent years believing I was a burden," I said softly. "And yet the room you tried to throw me out of exists because of me." Lucas swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" A sad smile tugged at my lips. "Because, dear, I wanted you to grow on your own. But instead, you grew arrogant." His face twisted not in anger, but in something far more painful, realization. I reached into my purse and pulled out another envelope. This one was thicker, sealed carefully. When I placed it before him, Lucas looked as though I had set a ticking bomb on the table. What is this?" he whispered. "My decision," I answered. "The one you forced me to make tonight." Paige leaned forward, panic flickering in her eyes. "Nora, whatever this is, we can talk." "No," I said. "Talking ended the moment you both decided I wasn't worthy of a chair at my own." Son's dinner. The attorney David Morse arrived at that moment, carrying a neat leather folder. He nodded politely to the chairman, then addressed Lucas and Paige. "Mr. and Mrs. Lucas," he said, "I'm here to formalize Mrs. Nora's updated will." Lucas's breath hitched. Paige went pale. "I changed nothing for years," I said, "hoping you'd remember who raised you. But tonight showed me I was wrong." Lucas stood abruptly. "Mom, please don't do anything drastic." I lifted a hand. He stopped mid. "The new will," David continued, places all assets, properties, shares, and investments under conditional suspension. Paige's voice cracked. Conditional what? It means, I said, nothing comes to you automatically anymore. Tears welled in Lucas's eyes. Mom, please. You can't punish me like this. This isn't punishment, I replied, my voice steady. This is accountability. David flipped open the folder. If the conditions are not met, the entire estate transfers to a charity of Mrs. Nora's choosing. Lucas staggered back, as if slapped. Paige covered her mouth. I leaned forward, folding my hands calmly. I'm giving you a chance, a real one, but you must earn it. The entire restaurant seemed to lean in, listening. Over the next year, I said, you will follow 6 strict conditions. Fail once, and everything goes to charity. Lucas stared at me, broken. What conditions? He whispered. I took a slow breath. Let me tell you, The 6 conditions are revealed, each harsher than the last. Dan Lucas must decide whether to fight for redemption or lose everything forever. The room held its breath as Lucas waited for the first condition. His lips slightly parted, his face drained of color. Paige clutched the edge of the table as though she might slide off her chair. I raised one finger. Condition 1. Every weekend, for an entire year, you will volunteer at a nursing home. Not for a photo, not for an hour. You will spend real time with people who feel forgotten. The same way you made me feel. Paige winced, guilt passing across her face. Lucas lowered his head. I lifted a second finger. Condition 2. You will leave your luxury home. For the next year, you will live in a modest apartment with a fixed budget. You must learn that dignity doesn't come from marble floors, but from humility. Paige whispered, a year? In a small apartment? Her voice trembled, but I didn't soften. My third finger rose. Lucas, you will work at one of my restaurants. Not as a manager, not as a supervisor. You will be a server. You must know what it feels like to be looked down upon, because you did that to others, including me. A murmur swept through the restaurant. Even the chairman watched in quiet approval. Lucas's voice cracked. Mom, please. But I continued. A fourth finger. You will write to public. Apologized one to your company for lying about your upbringing, and one to the community's seniors. Your pride has hurt more people than just me. Paige shut her eyes, her breathing uneven. A fifth finger. Every week, without fail, you will visit me. Not to prove anything. Not for inheritance. But to talk. To rebuild what you broke. Lucas covered his face, shoulders trembling. Then the final condition, the one that would decide everything. I opened my hand completely. And the sixth. The most important, if you slip even once one lie, one act of disrespect, one return to arrogance, your inheritance is gone forever. Everything goes to charity. Silence. Heavy, honest, unescapable. Lucas slowly lifted his head. Tears tracked down his face, real ones, not the angry ones he used to shed as a child. Mom, he whispered, voice shaking, I'll do it. I'll do every single one. Not for the money. For you. Because I was wrong. Paige swallowed hard, then nodded timidly. I will try to. I don't expect you to forgive me immediately. But I'll earn it if you let me. For the first time that night, my chest softened. They were not redeemed. Not yet. But they had taken the first step. Months passed after that evening, months of watching Lucas carry trays, apologize sincerely, sit patiently with elders at the nursing home. Months of Paige learning to listen, to help, to care. When the year ended, they weren't the same people who tried to push me out of a restaurant. They were better. And though I never forgot the pain they caused, I finally allowed myself to forgive. A mother's dignity had been restored not through anger, but through boundaries, truth, and the courage to demand respect. The story didn't end that night. That was only the night everything finally began. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.